You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Meets Clone High. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of FANFICTION on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. With Naruto. It had been a few weeks since Joan's house had burned down and she and her foster father Toots had moved in with Cleo and her foster mom. Thankfully after Abe and Naruto helped make peace between them / blackmailed Cleo, things have calmed down a bit between the two teen girls. Cleo making the occasional smart but remark to Joan notwithstanding. Currently Naruto was arriving at school on his Vespa and spotted Abe, Joan and Cleo hanging out in the quad. "Hey Abe sis, the reason Rome fell," he said as he greeted his friends before he looked at Cleo with a smile. Cleo scowled at this while Abe frowned and Joan snorted. "Well, he's not wrong," Joan said as she slightly chuckled. "That wasn't me and you know it, Uzumaki." Cleo yelled as she glared at Naruto and clenched her fists. "Yeah, that was her clone mother. Cleo is her own person, if anyone should sympathize it should be you," Abe said as he looked at Naruto. "Oh please, she embraces everything the OG Cleopatra was, speaking of which I would watch your back if you get into politics. Abe, history isn't your friend if she's by your side," Naruto said as he smiled as he jerked a thumb at Cleo. "And I suppose the oh-so-great sage had a history of beating the hell out of Jack Black?" Cleo asked as she glared at Naruto. "Yes, shallow, how wasn't that bad, bro?" Abe said as he shook his head at this. "Okay, two things. One, that movie's message was AF disgrace. You can't push an inner beauty message and do nothing but make fat jokes," Naruto yelled as he lifted his finger in the air. "Sound reasoning," Joan said, nodding at this as she couldn't disagree with this. "And second of all, that moron was dressed as a demonic raisin trying to sell me raisins," Naruto said as he rolled his eyes at this. "You forgot the part where when you asked for wheat he said no, and that's when you beat the hell out of him," Joan said with a bored tone. "So Abe, how much money are you gonna blow on asking Cleo to prom?" Naruto asked his friend, ignoring Joan's comment while gesturing to some other guys who were asking girls in extravagant ways, which included helicopters and fetal horse for some reason. "Ugh, if you're gonna ask a girl to prom, try to avoid the usual clichés, like your helicopter or your talking fetal horse," Cleo said as she shook her head at this display from the other male students. "Whatever, I don't need some guy in rented pants taking me to a dance," Joan said with a dismissive tone. "Dance? Joan, you know the expression, prom is the most important event in your life?" Abe asked as he looked at Joan. "Yeah, where else can you find prom night, dumpster babies?" Naruto said with a bright smile. Cleo groaned at this while Joan rolled her eyes at Naruto's immaturity. Abe ignored this before he pulled Naruto close. "Plus prom is the night we all move up a base SEC-wise," he whispered to his friend. "Yay HPV," Naruto said with a sarcastic tone. "Oh come on bro, isn't there anything at prom you're looking forward to?" Abe asked as he raised an eyebrow at this. "Not really, there isn't anyone I want to ask to it, and I'm not looking to prank any students at it, so I probably won't even go if I'm honest," Naruto said as he frowned. "An entire school of girls and you haven't felt an attraction to any of them at all," Joan said as she shook her head at this. "What can I say, I'm picky," Naruto said as he shrugged. "If you're not gonna go with a date, maybe you can help with music. You can actually play that thing when you're not using it as a weapon, right?" Cleo asked as she gave the bass on Naruto's back a look. "Yes, I can play it, you used up dash," Naruto was saying before he was cut off. "Then why not ask Principal Scudworth if you can play at prom? I'm sure he will give you a chance seeing as he seems to like prom," Abe said as he smiled at his friend as he knew Naruto always loved the chance to play in public. Excuse me Abe sis and patient zero, I have plans to make for prom, Naruto said as he walked away and went inside the school. Cleo growled at this dig at her while Abe went back to talking to Joan. Later. As Naruto walked down the hallway he spotted Gandhi talking to the mutated clone of MDM Curie, or as everyone called her Curie. He took note of her frown as Gandhi said something to her before he ran off to go ask other girls to prom. Everything okay Curie? Naruto asked as he approached the mutated clone. Oh, hey Naruto, I was just talking to Gandhi about prom, Curie said as she quickly put on a friendly smile. He's being a moron like Abe with Joan huh? Naruto asked as he looked at Curie with a knowing look as he had taken notice that she had been interested in his friend for a while now. Oh I guess after being practically siblings with Joan you would know huh? Curie said with a sheepish chuckle as she rubbed the back of her head. Yeah, I'm practically a expert with this at this point, Naruto said with a chuckle of his bone as while he loved his friends like family he wasn't above making fun of them if they made it easy. Any advice you could give me? Curie asked nervously as she knew Gandhi and Naruto were friends for years so he would probably have some good advice. From what I have heard JFK is giving Gandhi a makeover and tips on how to, get the dames, Naruto said as he did air quotes while doing an imitation of JFK. Curie frowned at this as she knew that if anyone could turn Gandhi into a ladies' man it was JFK. But if I know anything about Gandhi and JFK is that this most likely won't work out like they plan and it will crash and burn, Naruto said with a scoff as he shook his head. So what should I do? Curie asked curiously wondering what Naruto was thinking. Most likely when things go south Gandhi will figure out you like him and come running to you, Naruto said as he rubbed his chin. Curie smiled hopefully at this as this was a good scenario for her. Can I give you some advice though? Naruto asked as he looked at the mutated clone. Sure, I mean even if you were voted most likely to be locked up in a mental ward your advice to students has had more wins than misses, Curie said with a nod. That vote was rigged, whatever, anyway when Gandhi comes running to you my advice is that you string him along a bit make him think you're going out with someone else then when he's alone at the dance you go to him and forgive him after he's suffered a bit, Naruto said as he calmed himself a bit. Curie blinked at this and after a few moments she slowly smiled make him squirm so he learns a lesson she said as she smiled at Naruto. Exactly, don't get me wrong Gandhi is my bro but DMN he is a moron who needs a lesson like this every now and then, Naruto said as he nodded and smiled back. Thanks for the advice Naruto, you're definitely on your way to being as wise as your clone father, Curie said with a smile as she walked away from Naruto with a wave. Naruto paused at this for a moment before he waved back, great next thing you know I will have abandonment issues and be obsessed with a so-called best friend that may or may not like hanging out with creepy pale old men, he grumbled to himself as he walked to his locker. A few days later with Naruto. After school Naruto was making his way to Scudworth's office with his proposal for why he should be allowed to play music at prom. Which included the threat of him smacking the mad scientist with his guitar but hopefully this wouldn't require that this time. As Naruto entered through the principal's door he paused as he saw the mad principal on the office floor in his bathrobe crying and with a mad look on his face. Stamos. DMN him and his jet black hair and winning smile. Scudworth yelled as he held up a picture of John Stamos before dropping it on the ground. I'm gonna guess that Stamos called him again to brag about him beating him for prom king when they were in school. Naruto asked Mr. B with a knowing tone as this had happened every year since he could remember. Yup, Mr. B said as he stood in the corner holding a video camera. Oh, I'm a failure. A failure. I'm so disorganized. I never call anyone back, you should see my car. I'm a mess. Scudworth screamed as he cried and rolled on the floor in the fetal position. Well you're not wrong, Naruto said as he took out a fishing rod and placed the line in the puddle of tears while Mr. B recorded as watching Scudworth do this at prom season was always a highlight of the year. When I go to the submarine sandwich restaurant I always forget my value card. I want a free sandwich, Stamos. Scudworth wept before screaming out the celebrity's name dramatically. Oh will you SCK it up already? F me. I thought the will they won't they CRP with Abe with Joan made me sick, but this is pathetic. Naruto yelled as he threw his fishing rod at the crying Scudworth. Why not me? I work so hard. Nobody knows in here. I have so much love to give. Scudworth yelled as he scratched the wallpaper off the wall before he started to pat his chest before he started to cough and choke from all the crying and yelling he had been doing. What is this I'm feeling? When I'm watching this? It's not the usual disgust and glee from watching him do this every year, Naruto said as he looked at his adopted father. Sympathy? Mr. B asked curiously. Nah, okay you quack, time to do you like old yeller, Naruto said after a few moments of thought before he took out his guitar and started to load some shotgun rounds into the neck. Mr. B quickly snatched the guitar from Naruto before he slapped Scudworth hard with it, sending him to the ground. That works too, nice swing Mr. B, Naruto said with a grin as he gave the robot butter a thumbs up. I have an idea that can make you as good as new, Mr. B said as he dropped the guitar. Are you programmed to be thinking what I'm thinking? Scudworth asked as he pulled himself together and looked at Mr. B. Makeover/shock therapy. Mr. B and Scudworth yelled together happily while Naruto yelled the latter before he groaned at what his foster dad and Butter said. Let's go Mr. B. This is just what I need. Scudworth yelled as he jumped to his feet. Yes sir, Mr. B said as he nodded at this. Before you two go act like morons, I wanted to ask if I can play at the prom, Naruto said as he grabbed his guitar. We already have a band planned, plus you know you're banned from performing after the incident of '99 back in middle school. Scudworth said as he looked at the youngest clone. Oh come on. It wasn't that bad. Naruto yelled as he stomped on the ground, clearly upset. You Lincoln and Gandhi sang a song about Uncle FRNCTN for a school assembly, Mr. B said as he raised his arm. DMN that Matt and Trey for warping your mind. Scudworth yelled hearing this. Yes they are the ones who warped him, Mr. B said with a sigh at this. Look you quack, I have been good lately and I want a chance to actually play a legitimate song for an audience, and if you don't let me I'm gonna shove dash, Naruto was saying as he held up his guitar in a threatening manner. Alright. One song and you don't make a spectacle of yourself at the prom, Scudworth said as he held up his hands in defeat. Deal, Naruto said as he nodded in agreement before he started to walk towards the door to leave. And no pranks on the students during prom. Scudworth yelled after the young clone. Gah! Do you want my heart too? You will find it on the bottom of your shoes you quack. Naruto yelled out as he left the room before slamming the door hard, shattering the glass. I do believe I'm making progress with that boy Mr. B, Scudworth said with a smile at this. Mr. B rolled his eyes at this as he and Scudworth left the office to go get the mad principal a makeover. Later. Naruto was just arriving at Cleo's on his Vespa as he decided to check on Joan, seeing as she was still getting used to living with Cleo, and despite the deal/blackmail they made with the popular girl he still wanted to check on Joan. As he parked his Vespa he noticed Abe was just arriving too and dragging a homeless guy with him. Hey Abe, who's your friend? Naruto asked as he took off his helmet. Oh, Joan's prom date, he said he would take her, Abe said with a smile. For a 20 and a bottle of Jack Daniels, she's a hot goth right? The homeless man asked. Naruto's eyebrow twitched at this before he grabbed his guitar of his back. She's also a sister to me, he growled as he pumped the neck of his guitar, showing it was loaded with shotgun ammo. I'm out, the homeless man yelled as Naruto opened fire at the man as he ran away. Yeah, you better run. Naruto yelled as he pumped the neck of his guitar, sending the empty shell casing flying. He then turned to Abe, who was at Cleo's front door. As for you Abe, congrats, you just earned 20 whacks with dash, Naruto was saying as he approached Abe and saw he had a stunned look on his face, silencing him. What happened? Did you see Cleo's mom and her slip and go blind? No you idiot, he's stunned with the work I did with Joan's makeover, Cleo said with a smug tone. Oh god, Joan actually let you give her a makeover willingly? How desperate can dash, Naruto was saying as he entered the house and paused as he spotted Joan at the bottom of the stairs, only she was now wearing makeup, a appealing black dress that showed off her figure, a red feather boa, and her hair was down and looked like she had gone to the stylist. Cleo chuckled at this reaction from Naruto before she looked at Joan. Well, looks like my work speaks for itself if it actually silenced Uzumaki. Yeah, thanks Cleo, Joan said with a flat tone of voice before looked at Abe, who was looking at her stunned, causing her to lightly smile. So what do you think, Abe? She asked with a SNSL tone. You look great. You will definitely have guys wanting to take you to the prom now, Abe yelled with a smile as he snapped out of it. Joan quickly deflated at this, losing her smile, while Naruto groaned and slapped his face. Okay Abe, let's go, I need a break after all my hard work, Cleo said as she grabbed Abe's arm and dragged him off, leaving Naruto and Joan alone in the room. You know, despite Abe being a moron, you do look nice sis, Naruto said as he approached Joan. I look like a call girl, Joan said with an annoyed tone. Well yeah, but an expensive call girl, ow my kidney. Naruto was saying before Joan slugged him in the side, causing him to fall to the ground. You know Naruto, someday you gonna fall in love with a girl, and I promise you I will get you back for every taunt, every joke, every itty bitty chuckle you've had at my expense and shove it down your throat, Joan growled as she glared at the blonde clone. Ohu, a threat, ha. Renegade for life, I ain't never falling in love. Naruto laughed as he stood up and left through the front door. The next day. It was morning at school and Naruto had just arrived at school. As he approached his locker, he noticed that everyone was looking at JFK and what looked like a mini version of himself, who were both surrounded by girls. Gandhi? Naruto asked as he approached his friend, hoping his eyes were playing tricks on him. You are a Naruto, my friend, how are you doing, buddy? Gandhi said, doing dead-on imitation of JFK, which caused the girls around him to swoon. You are a what you think, Uzumaki? JFK asked with a smile at Naruto. I think I can't wait for prom to be over. Between Joan and now Gandhi doing this makeover CRP, I think my brain is gonna melt, Naruto said as he shook his head. You are what you mean, whoa. JFK was asking before the school doors opened and Joan in her new look walked into the school, which of course got everyone's attention. Who's the smoking hot redhead? Gandhi asked Naruto. It's Joan, she's at the pretend she's something she's not, phase with Abe, kinda pathetic huh? Naruto said as he looked at his friend with emphasis. Oh absolutely. That CRP never lasts in the movies, Gandhi said with a smile before he went back to the girls around him. Ugh, I swear the quack put something in the water that makes everyone more and more retarded, Naruto groaned out as he went back to his locker. Later after school. Meanwhile with Scudworth, he was inside his office with Mr. B and a tailor. The mad principal was looking in the mirror, looking over his new look, which consisted of what looked like a long blonde wig and a poofy pink shirt and tight white pants while keeping his typical yellow gloves. Oh, I feel like a king. The king of king that would reign over this year's prom. That gives me a idea, a stamos, neutralizing idea, Scudworth said before he started to laugh. Oh, nothing can destroy this happy mood I'm in, he said with a smile. Scudworth, the leader of the board of shadowy figures, said as he appeared on the giant TV screen, surprising everyone. Ah. I mean, hello. What beings you here, sir? Scudworth asked after screaming like a girl before composing himself. I'm looking at a videotape called My Plan to Steal All the Clones Away from the Shadowy Board, the movie, the leader said as he held up a videotape while looking at Scudworth with an annoyed look. I don't recognize it, Scudworth said with a blank look on his face. We have also gotten reports that the clone of the great sage Naruto Uzumaki is a complete failure dash, the leader was saying before. You watch your F mouth. Scudworth yelled as he stomped his foot on the ground. Gasp. Mr. B said as he and the tailor's eyes widened at this. Excuse me, the leader said as he looked at Scudworth with his eyes narrowed. He may not be exactly like his clone father despite my best efforts, but he has the qualities of the original Naruto that matter, so don't you insult him, that's my job. Scudworth yelled loudly without thinking. Mr. B slapped his face at this answer, clearly embarrassed by this show of both affection and stupidity. Scudworth, we are taking the clones, which includes the clone of the great sage, and we will be eliminating you, on prom night, the leader said with a firm tone before he cut off communications. Scudworth gasped dramatically at this before he fell over and fainted, causing his wig to fall off. With the board. As the video screen turned off, the leader of the shadowy figures turned to a figure hidden in the shadows. Once we've done away with Scudworth, we will leave the training of the clones to you. We're certain you'll be able to make the great sage into a perfect weapon. The leader said as the woman stepped forward. She had a long pointy nose, blonde hair, and was wearing glasses. Of course, sir. I'll personally see to his capture and training myself. The woman said, adjusting her glasses as she walked out the office while a lizard followed her. With Naruto. Naruto walked into the principal's office to check in with Mr. B on something he was setting up for the prom. Hey Mr. B, you get confirmation from, what happened to the quack? And why does he look like a French tart? Naruto asked as he noticed that Scudworth was passed out on the floor. Where am I? Who are you? Scudworth groaned as he woke up and looked at Mr. B and Naruto while holding his head. Naruto blinked at this before he smiled as he realized what was going on. That's not important, sir. What is important is that I have your bags all packed and your car is all gassed and ready to dash, he was saying before he was cut off. Oh Wesley, I'm afraid you have amnesia, Mr. B said as he approached Scudworth while giving Naruto a look of disapproval. Naruto frowned at this before snapping his fingers at his missed chance. Was I doing dishes? Scudworth asked as he looked at his gloved hands curiously. You're the evil principal of a high school populated by teenaged clones of historical figures, Mr. B explained. You forgot to tell himself he's nuttier than Squirrel SHT and should get stronger medication, Naruto said with a flat tone of voice. I am on the right dosage, you ramen-sucking brat. Scudworth yelled as he shot to his feet. Ah, it would seem Naruto insulting you has brought your memories back, Mr. B said with a sigh of relief. Indeed, though I still can't remember what made me faint, Scudworth said as he glared at Naruto. Darn, I was hoping to finally have you put in the nut house. I had a nice padded room with no windows picked out, Naruto said as he slightly pouted. Get to class, you cat-looking delinquent. Scudworth yelled as he pointed at the door. Naruto hissed mockingly at Scudworth as he left the office while Mr. B looked around nervously as he thought about what had made Scudworth faint. At lunch. It was lunch. PRD and Naruto was in the lunchroom looking for a place to sit, and soon he spotted Gandhi, who was now in his regular outfit sitting at a table with other clones who didn't have dates to prom. Hey Gandhi, being JFK's mini-me didn't work out for you? Naruto asked as he sat down next to his friend and reached into his lunch bag and pulled out a sandwich. Nah, turns out JFK was just helping me to win a bet with himself, so I decided to go back to bring myself, though Catherine the Great dumped me. Now I have to go to prom, stay a while. Gandhi said as he frowned before he screamed the last word dramatically. So like the last couple proms, got it, Naruto said with a nod at this. None of us have dates, join the club, Edison said with a snort as he gestured to the others sitting at the table. I know. We can form a prom pose. The 11 of us can go together and leave with a bunch of ladies. Gandhi said with a smile as an idea hit him. Pass, I'm gonna be performing at the prom and I have a surprise set up for the prom, so I can't be a part of this upcoming train wreck, Naruto said as he shook his head. Do you have any interest in dating? Carver asked curiously as he looked at Naruto. He's just waiting for the one who speaks to his soul like a sap, ow. Gandhi was saying before Naruto slugged him in the shoulder. Keep it up, party man, I'm not above pranking you before prom, Naruto said as he went back to his sandwich. Everyone at the table nodded at this before they went back to their food. Later that night. It was prom night and Naruto was making his way to the prom wearing his regular outfit, seeing as he didn't see the point of renting a tux as he didn't have a date. He parked his Vespa in the parking lot of the meat locker Scudworth had rented for the prom this year. Well, it's better than the abandoned nuclear test site from last year, Naruto said as he got off his Vespa and walked through the front doors, which were guarded by some of the meat locker workers. He walked into the main meat locker and saw that the prom was in full swing with couples out on the dance floor and mingling among themselves while the band on stage played some slow rock. Ah, there you are, Naruto, Abe said as he waved at Naruto from his space in a corner with Gandhi. Like I wouldn't show up when I finally get my chance to perform nice tuxes, you both clean up pretty well, Naruto said as he gave his best friends a thumbs up. Thanks, before the night is over I'm gonna be dry humping some lucky lady, Gandhi said with a grin. Live the dream, buddy. Where is Joan? Naruto said with a chuckle at Gandhi before he looked at Abe. Oh, she's at her table with her date, Abe said with a slightly annoyed tone as he pointed at a nearby table. Oh. Who's she, oh? Naruto was saying before he spotted Joan sitting at a table alone while JFK was nearby dancing with the Bronte sisters. Before you go grill Joan about her date choices, I think the band is waiting for you, Abe said as he pointed at the stage. Naruto nodded at this before he turned to the stage where the band was just finishing their song. Hey, you, the principal's kid who has a song to play, the lead of the band said as he turned to look at Naruto. Naruto paused at this before looked at Scudworth who was distracted talking to Mr. B. Well? The lead of the band asked curiously. Yeah, that's me, bit. If you ask me in public I'll deny it, Naruto said with a sigh as he took his bass guitar off his back and readied himself to play. Noted, the robot gave us your music sheet so we're all set, kid, the leader said as he and the band nodded at Naruto before he approached the microphone. Everyone looked at the band as they wondered why the music stopped. Okay, we have a up-and-coming rocker who has prepared a song to play for you all, so let's give him a round of applause, the leader of the band said before moved away from the microphone so Naruto could approach as the rest of the band got ready. Naruto sings Pray by Jiraigamesh. Naruto stepped up to the stage tapping his foot on the ground as he nodded his head to the rhythm of the beat. If you find yourself feel lonely and you're crying in your heart, remember you are not alone, you and me, there's something in between and I bring your smile back for you, don't forget I'm here with you, hold my hand, I'll be on your side and carry on. If you find yourself feeling lonely and you're crying in your heart, hold my hand, I'll be on your side. And carry on. Naruto sang as he started to strum on his bass with the rest of the band following his lead. When you look upon the sky I wonder if you cry. All I do is pray and kneel. Just tell me what you feel. Naruto tapped his feet on the stage as the students listened on, enjoying the passion mixed with rock as the waltz to the newfound beat. Gandhi was by the punch bowl steadily shaking his head to the beat loudly. Joan smiled, liking the theme too as she and JFK moved around the dance floor. So a wish goes over the seas and the stars though you can't see. It is true that only love can make the world go around. You know, a little piece of light might seem so weak, but never lose your hope. Naruto moved around the stage kicking up with the growing music in his soul. Now I got the flood of lights here in my hands. Naruto shouted, holding up his hand to the sky light, clenching his fist tightly. If you find yourself feeling lonely and you're crying in your heart, remember you are not alone, you and me. There's something in between. Naruto cried out, rearing his back, strumming away. As they danced about, Abe couldn't help but pay a glance at Joan, a small smile coming across his face. And I bring your smile back for you, don't forget I'm here with you, hold my hand, I'll be on your side and carry on. Naruto yelled loudly as the crowd's cheers grew louder as he finished his song. All of the students started to cheer and clap their hands as Naruto took off his guitar and holstered it as he got off the stage, and smiled as several students patted him on the back in approval. That's my boy. Scudworth yelled as he smiled at this while Mr. B smiled at Naruto. Naruto rolled his eyes at this as he looked around and spotted Joan sitting alone at her table while JFK was dancing with the Bronte sisters. Joan saw Naruto approaching her and groaned at the look he was giving her. Don't start, she said with an annoyed tone. Really, sis? We're at this point now? Naruto asked as he jerked a thumb at JFK, who was still dancing with his other dates. Hey, when you have a crush you can judge me, so keep your smart but comments to yourself, Joan said with an annoyed look at Naruto. Naruto sighed at this before he shook his head. Alright, I'll leave you to it, sis, but just know that I have your back if this goes south, he said. Thanks, bro, by the way, nice song, Joan said as she lightly smiled at Naruto's show of support. Naruto smiled at Joan as he walked away from her table before he glared at JFK, and when they met each other's eyes Naruto pointed at Joan then at JFK before he put his fingers to the side of his head and made a gun gesture before he jerked his fingers in a shooting gesture. JFK paled at this before he quickly ran after Joan, who had just finished talking to Abe before Cleo dragged him off to another meat locker, causing her to run off. Naruto smirked at this as Mr. Sheepman approached the microphone on stage. "Okay, it's time to announce the prom king. This year it's Principal Scud. Is that John Stamos?" Mr. Sheepman was saying before he spotted said celebrity entering through the door. "Stamos?" Scudworth yelled as his old high school rival approached the stage with a smile. "Hey everyone, sorry to crash your prom, but my old buddy Scudworth's kid called me and asked me to make a surprise visit for my old friend. I gotta say you're pretty good with a guitar," Stamos said as he approached the microphone and smiled at Naruto, who he spotted in the crowd. Naruto smiled as he approached the microphone while passing Scudworth, who was slightly foaming at the mouth as he glared at Naruto and Stamos on stage. "Thanks for coming, Mr. Stamos, but the surprises aren't over yet, and now for our two special guests. Give up for two of the greatest showmen in the movie business, Vern Troyer and Warwick Davis." Naruto exclaimed as the two actors came running onto the stage, causing Stamos to freeze up seeing the two little people. Both actors were dressed in their respective role costumes. Troyer was dressed as Mini-Me while Davis was the leprechaun. What's going on, and why does Stamos look like he's going to wet himself?" Scudworth asked as he looked at his rival, who looked like he had seen a ghost. "Mr. Stamos is afraid of little people and Naruto decided to prank him publicly for you," Mr. B said with a chuckle. Scudworth's eyes widened at this before he started to lightly cry in happiness. "Hey guys, why don't you take a pic with Mr. Stamos?" Naruto grinned as he looked at the two actors. "Fine idea, lad." Warwick grinned, running up jumping onto the man's back make Stamos cry out in shock. "Hey there laddie," he said with an Irish accent. Stamos' teeth chattered as he saw the short man's face so close to his but froze up when he felt something pressing up hitting against his leg. He slowly turned down to see Mini-Me humping at his leg. What? Stamos let out a loud girlish scream as both men jumped off, letting the him bust through the door, flailing in terror as everyone laughed watching on. "And that's my prank for the night, thank you and good night," Naruto said into the microphone before bowing to the laughing crowd. "Well, that definitely wins as the best prank you pulled," Gandhi said with a laugh as Naruto approached his table where he and his possessions were sitting. "What can I say, I thrive for greatness. Hey Abe, what happened to you?" Naruto said with a smile before he noticed Abe running over to them wearing only his underwear and his socks and shoes. Guys, I don't know how to say that, but I think I like Joan," Abe said. Naruto and Gandhi both looked at each other with their eyes bugging as they looked back and forth between each other and Abe. "Say what?" they said in surprise at Abe's words and him finally getting it. "I like Joan, guys," Abe admitted. Do you think she likes me?" Duh. Naruto and Gandhi said, their teeth bucking like a donkey's as they crossed their eyes and shook their heads for emphasis. "I gotta find Joan," Abe yelled as he ran off to go look for Joan. "Well, I had prom night in the pool, all of you pay up suckers," Naruto said as he looked at some students sitting nearby who all grumbled as they took out their money. "Naruto!" Mr. B yelled as he approached the blonde as he collected his money. "What's up, Mr. B? The quack get into the cough syrup again?" he asked curiously. "No, we have a problem," Mr. B said as he decided to tell the young clone what was coming tonight. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this as he followed Mr. B outside so they could talk in private. Later up the street. Up the street from the meat locker, several black vans and helicopters were quickly approaching. The leader was sitting in the passenger seat of one of the vans as his driver drove. Sir, we have a bogey that's making a beeline for us," one of the men in the helicopter said over the leader's radio. "A bogey?" the leader asked curiously. "Yes sir, it seems to be riding a Vespa and waving what looks like a bass guitar like a mallet," the officer in the helicopter said. The leader's eyes narrowed as he looked down the street and saw what looked like Naruto on his Vespa making a beeline for them, his goggles down and his scarf flying. Play advice by the pillows. You wanna throw down mother affairs? Let's do it. Naruto yelled as he spun his guitar in his hand behind him before he smacked a passing dumpster at the trucks as he approached and used a parked car as a ramp, sending himself at the helicopters. Open fire, the leader yelled out as the vans all swerved to avoid the dumpster. As this happened, Naruto jumped off his flying Vespa and raised his guitar overhead and shouted as he smacked the front of one of the helicopters, smashing the window open and causing the helicopter to swerve and start to fall to the ground. As it fell, Naruto landed on the side of the helicopter and jumped at the other two helicopters and pumped the neck of his guitar. Say hello to my little friend. Naruto yelled with a Cuban accent before he opened fire on one of the helicopters. The shot easily blasted through the front of the helicopter and killed the driver, causing the helicopter to swerve and fall. One to go, Naruto yelled with a mad grin as he fell at the third helicopter and fell through the passenger door and entered the helicopter. I don't know how to say this, I'm PRGN and Trevor, he yelled before he started to attack the men inside with a laugh at the soldiers' bewildered looks. This ensuing fight inside the last helicopter caused it to swerve and start to fall towards the ground as the trucks below stopped and watched as it crashed. After a few moments, the wrecked helicopter started to shake before Naruto smashed his way out. The leader's eyes narrowed as his men all raised their guns and pointed at Naruto. Stand down, we don't want to kill such a valuable asset, the leader said as his men surrounded Naruto. I surrender. Naruto yelled as he raised his hands before quickly elbowing a soldier in the face, snatching his pistols, proceeding to empty bullet after bullet into an incoming soldier. He jumped into the air, slowly flipping through the air, shooting off round blowing BLD, skull, and gray matter across the school's grounds. He jumped atop each man's head, shooting one in the head, the other in the heart, flipping over one's head as he was gunned down by his comrades, leading Naruto to shoot them down next. Naruto jumped onto the hood of a military van, firing off bullets down upon the occupants as the radio in the van turned on. Several soldiers rushed out, charging at Naruto, tapping his foot on the ground and bobbing his head as the music blazed like crazy. Naruto picked up his trusty guitar, slamming it into the chin of a soldier, sending him smashing into the school clock, then striking another man in the side, knocking him away. Soldiers shot off a barrage of fire upon Naruto, but he tugged on the end of the guitar and began to spin it around, like smashing into everyone coming his way. An explosion sent the bus flying towards Naruto. The blonde clone jumped into the air, running along the sides of the bus. He looked up to see a set of drones firing off missiles at his directions. He thrusted a chain upwards, wrapping around the drone as it carried him off into the sky, using the chain to guide him into the other drones, smashing them down one by one with his guitar landing on the ground as explosions erupted in the air. At least try to make this interesting for me. Naruto yelled at the leader as he smirked at him. Naruto then felt something shaking the ground and looked up at a massive machine started to stomp towards him. It was a humanoid machine, slightly bulky, resembling one of the robots from Dragon Ball. Within the cockpit of the machine, the pilot was petting a lizard sitting in her lap as the screen displayed Naruto reading out his information. Strength, speed, agility, attack patterns. Okay, now this is getting fun, Naruto said with a smirk at the robot. Go on ahead, sir, I'll secure the clone of the sage, the female agent said as the mech stood at the ready. Very well, the leader said as he and the rest of his men quickly moved to enter the meat locker. The robot held up his fist, extending out of the fist were several missile launchers firing off a barrage towards Naruto. Naruto's eyes narrowed, quickly pulling out his guitar, swiping it forward, smacking away the incoming middle shots charging forward. The machine fired off a second missile shower from its shoulder-mounted rockets. Naruto jumped onto one of the incoming rockets, running along the top, rearing back his arms, smashing the guitar into the bot's head. The robot's eye focused on Naruto, blasting him in his shoulder. Gah! Naruto clutched his bleeding shoulder when the mech smacked him to the ground hard, cracking the ground. Naruto grit his teeth when suddenly the mech stomped on his chest hard, making him cry out in pain from the pressure forced on his chest. Naruto pushed his strength into his muscles, pushing the machine's foot off him, tightening it over. It held up its arm, firing off 3 metal rings latching around Naruto, sending out a powerful shockwave through his body, making him cry out in pain. Don't make me hurt you boy, you are a poor imitation of the original Naruto, but you could still prove be useful, the female agent said from inside the mech. Naruto growled at this, fighting through the pain running through his body as he broke the ring's hold over him. F you and your plans, I'm not your puppet B, Naruto panted as he took heavy breaths, falling to his knees looking up to see the mech stomping towards him. It reared its leg up, smashing into Naruto's chest, sending him speeding like a comet through the meat locker's wall. Before the woman inside the mech could move to follow Naruto, her display lit up, showing her what was going on inside the meat locker. Perhaps I should bide my time instead, she mused as she pet her lizard as she made her mech leave the area. Inside the meat locker. Meanwhile, with Abe and Gandhi, who had just gotten together with Curie, they along with Cleo had just found Joan in bed with JFK in one of the meat lockers. I know I didn't see it coming either, and by coming I mean me, JFK said with a smile as he smoked from a pipe hole. Joan covered herself with her blanket and looked at everyone, shocked at being caught. As this was happening, Scudworth, leading a conga line which included students and the board of shadowy figures, started coming into the meat locker. And as the last person danced into the meat locker, Naruto suddenly burst through the doorway and smashed into a metal wall with a clang. Naruto! Are you okay? Joan yelled as she looked at her adopted brother. Yeah, I'm, what the F is this? Naruto was saying as he got up before he saw the situation Joan was in with JFK. Looks like where you are in-laws, Uzumaki. JFK said with a smile. Gah! Naruto yelled as he started to foam at the mouth from his overwhelming anger and shock. As this was happening, Scudworth quickly pulled the lever next to the door before running out of the locker and slamming the door closed. Everybody freeze! He yelled with a smile as the meat locker turned on and started to freeze all the clones and shadowy board members solid. What the hell, Wesley? Mr. B yelled as he rolled over and took a look through the window at the clones, more specifically Naruto, who was frozen in place, still foaming at the mouth and screaming. What? I froze the shadowy board, we're free, Mr. B. Scudworth said with a smile. You also froze all the clones and more specifically Naruto. And how are you even gonna go through with your plans if the clones are all frozen? Mr. B yelled as he waved his arms in the air. Oh, relax, we can make more clones and this time I can continue the school secretly, Scudworth said with a smile as he rubbed his hands together. With what funding, you quack? Mr. B asked as he glared at the mad doctor. Aha! I have an idea. Naruto's short was actually a hit with the students and he has an entire shelf of ideas for his funny books. We will raid his idea shelf and sell his ideas to funny bookmakers in Japan. Scudworth said with a smile as Hev raised his finger. Mangaka, Mr. B said, correcting the mad doctor. Whatever. Let's go, Mr. B, we can unfreeze the clones when the heat is off us. Scudworth said as he walked towards the door. Mr. B sighed at this before he looked inside the freezer at the frozen Naruto for a few moments. See you soon, Naruto, he said with a shake of his head as he went to follow the mad doctor. Shadowy board headquarters. The pilot of the mech Naruto had fought was sitting at her desk, which had a name plate which had the name Candid Samson. Candid was looking over footage of the clones being frozen by Scudworth and sighed at this. So the clone of the great sage is out of my reach for now, but no matter, I have other options, she said as she held up a vial of Naruto's BLD as she smiled at her victory. With Scudworth. Scudworth was inside his office looking over the DNA samples and files he had as backups just in case he had to start from scratch. Looks like I have some good clones to start with, though it might take a few years before we can get started, Mr. B, Scudworth said as he looked over a file. Yay, that's great, Mr. B said with an annoyed tone as he dusted the office. Oh, don't be a bitch bot. Naruto will be fine, and when we get him off ice I'll hopefully have a clone that can help me keep him in line. Scudworth yelled as he grabbed a new file. Which was labeled H. Hyuga. Hidden Base. The same woman who had fought Naruto in a mech at prom was walking through a hallway and making her way towards a table where a new board of shadowy figures was sitting waiting for her. Welcome, Agent Candide, Samson, one of the board said, greeting the woman. Candide nodded at this as a lizard crawled onto her shoulder. You wish to see me, she asked as she pet her lizard on the head. Indeed, we are aware that you were involved with the Clone High project 20-something years ago, one of the board said as he pushed a file towards Candide. Just near the end before they were all frozen, I'm afraid, Candide said as she opened the file and looked at it, seeing a picture of the school and of Scudworth in his office screaming madly in his office. We are aware that you were able to fight the clone of the great sage and were able to beat him before he was frozen along with the others, one of the boards said as a giant TV behind them started showing footage of the fight between Naruto and the mech. Indeed I was, why bring this up? Candide said as she narrowed her eyes slightly at this. We are having Scudworth unfreeze the clones so we can guide them into being future world leaders, one of the board members said as the TV switched to an image of the frozen clones. And this includes the clone of the sage, Candide said with a sigh as she turned a page on the file she was given, which showed pictures of Naruto causing chaos at the school. While he's a bit unhinged, his battle skills, while unconventional, would be a valuable asset if guided in the right way, one of the board said. And we wish to assign you to work with Scudworth and try to make sure this operation goes smoothly, another of the board said. I won't let you down, Candide said as she closed the file and nodded at this before she left the room. Naruto's house. Meanwhile at Naruto's house it was morning and Mr. B was getting breakfast ready while Scudworth was sitting at the table looking over the morning paper. Ah, isn't it wonderful, Mr. B? After a night with the hair dryer I got all the clones unfrozen and we can finally get back to work on our plan, Scudworth said with a smile as he read the paper. Shouldn't you wake Naruto up, he will be late for school, Wesley, Mr. B said as he placed plates of food on the table. You do it, I know better than to wake that brat, it took me 20 years for the last wound to my head from his guitar to heal, Scudworth said with a wince. Mr. B sighed at this as he approached the door to Naruto's room, which had a sign on it that said, "Enter under penalty of death, if you can read this you quack you're already dead." Mr. B opened the door and looked inside, seeing that Naruto was asleep in his bed groaning as if he was having a bad dream. Naruto, wake up, it's time for school, Mr. B said as he shook the teen clone lightly. I said you're banned from my room, you quack. Oh, it's you, Mr. B, Naruto yelled as he shot to his feet, his guitar in his hands, before he saw that it was the robot butler who had woke him up. Indeed, you having a bad dream? Mr. B asked curiously as Naruto sat down on his bed. Kinda, it was weird. I had this weird dream that I was dragged into this multiverse adventure with other versions of myself, Naruto said with a sigh as he rubbed the top of his head before he got up and approached his closet to get dressed. Is that good or bad? Mr. B asked curiously as he raised his eyebrow curiously. Well, I kept annoying them with insults, so that was fun, but by the end I was kinda seeing them as brothers. It was horrible. Naruto said with a snicker before he shuddered and shook his head. Hey brat. You're gonna be late for school. Get the lead out. Scudworth yelled as he poked his head into Naruto's room. Before Naruto kicked him in the nose, sending him flying into the wall. Ah, nothing like a beatdown to get the old BLD pumping, Naruto said with a grin as he did some stretches as he walked over to the door, now in his regular clothes. Have a good day at school, Naruto, Mr. B said as he handed Naruto a bagged lunch. Thanks, Mr. B, later you quack. Naruto said with a smile as he took the lunch before he yelled at Scudworth, who was still groaning on the ground before he left the house. DMN brat, why did we unfreeze him again? Scudworth asked as he stood up and rubbed his nose. Cause you missed him, even if he makes you crazy, well, more crazy, Mr. B said as he held up a robot arm. I never admitted to that. Mr. B yelled as he crossed his arms in a huff, causing Mr. B to sigh. With Naruto. Naruto parked his Vespa in the parking lot of the high school just as students started to arrive for today's classes. Naruto sighed as he took off his helmet and looked around a bit at the students. We get some new transfer students or something, he mused to himself as he noticed a lot of new faces among the students before he shrugged and got off his Vespa. As he approached the school he noticed Abe talking to Joan with a dopey love-struck look on his face before they were interrupted by JFK. Joan of Arc. I want to ask you to be my girlfriend. JFK said with a smile as he looked at Joan. Huh? Really? But you're popular, can I get back to you later? Joan said with a look of surprise on her face at JFK's proposal. Not used to that, but sure. Hey, an alien ship. Come back, alien ship. JFK was saying before he spotted a drone flying by, which he provided to chase with a smile. You're not actually gonna date that idiot, are you? I mean, sure, you decided to get your V card punched by that moron, but come on sis, you can't be that desperate, Naruto said as he approached. I don't know, I mean maybe. It's my decision, isn't it? Joan asked as she looked at Naruto, who was looking at JFK and loading shotgun ammo into his guitar. Huh? Oh. Yeah, of course it is your decision. Naruto said with a forced smile at Joan. Let's get to class, come on Abe, Joan said as she sighed at the blonde's antics before she pushed Naruto towards the school before she turned back to look at Abe, who was looking at her with a look of sadness at the fact that JFK had asked her to be his boyfriend. Huh? Oh sure, I'm coming. Abe yelled as he ran after them. Not in public, I hope, Naruto said with a snicker before Joan slapped him in the back of the head as they went inside the school. Attention students. This is Principal Scudworth. All students will assemble for a mandatory meeting in the assembly hall. Scudworth's voice yelled over the PA system. Great, not even first PRD and the quack is already starting with his CRP, Naruto said with a sigh as they started walking towards the auditorium. Give him a chance, it's probably something important, Abe said as they all found their seats. I doubt it, probably something stupid, knowing the quack, Naruto said with a sigh as he sat down. Soon Scudworth was at the podium with a projection screen behind him. Okay everyone, a few quick announcements. Today's lunch is pizza boats, Latin Club will meet in the library, and for anyone who thinks it's 2003, you're wrong. You have actually been frozen for 20-some-odd years, the students you don't recognize were cloned a few years after you were frozen, so you're all roughly the same age. Scudworth said with a smile as he showed an image of a time graph that showed that they were indeed frozen in 2003. This caused the students in the auditorium to start to clamor in surprise. We missed the last 20 years. Joan asked, surprised at this revelation. Still want to give him the benefit of the doubt? Naruto asked as he groaned at this reveal before he winced as Joan slugged him in the shoulder. Oh my god, does that mean I'm 36? 'Cause I look amazing for 36-inch, Cleo said with a smile at this. Nice to know 20 years later your priorities still SCK donkey pp, oi. What the hell, you quack? Naruto was saying before all of the students' arms were bound to their seats and their eyes were forced open. To catch you all up on what has been happening in culture the last 2 decades, I prepared a very fun, Clockwork Orange-style re-education, Scudworth said with a smile at the students. I do not consent, you quack. Naruto yelled as he tried to get loose from his seat, but it was all in vain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Poke bowls, Fire Fest, Kim Kardashian was a West, Gaga wore a meat dress, most meat is now meatless, Janet Jackson NPL slip, rap rock is no longer hip, Marvel movies, Taylor Swift, Bill Cosby, Google it. Viral trends, K-pop bands, lost finale, upset fans, Scudworth sang as images on the projection screen accompanied his song. 6 hours later. Snap, Meta, Insta posts, pics of avocado toast. Pockets made through NFTs, only reboots on TV, keto diet, Beyoncé, billionaires went to space, everyone is filled with hate, now you're all caught up to date. Scudworth sang as he sweated and panted, tired before he finally finished and slumped over panting for breath. I have no questions, JFK said with a smile as everyone was released from their bindings. Hey, can you sing that again? I got distracted somewhere around Breaking Bad and Angry Birds. Naruto yelled out with a smile on his face. You go to hell and you die. Any other questions? Scudworth yelled at Naruto before he looked at the other students. Yeah, I have a question, Joan said as she stood up and raised her hand. Great question, here to not answer it is the most popular clone and the hottest girl in the school, Scudworth said with a smile. Finally. Cleo said as she stood up to go down to the podium. Cleopatra. Please move out of the way so everyone can see Frida Kahlo, your class president. Scudworth said as he pointed at the door. What? Cleo said in surprise as what looked like a teen girl with a unibrow wearing very colorful clothes skateboarded down the stairs while giving peace signs to the cheering students who knew her. She's popular? Cleo asked, surprised at seeing this reaction. While peaked at 36, so sad, Naruto said with a snicker at this reaction as Frida approached the podium. Welcome, frozen clones. We know it must be crazy waking up after 20 years, hell, I can't function when my smartwatch switches to daylight savings, Frida said with a smile at everyone. This got laughs from the non-frozen clones and looks of confusion from the frozen clones. No one understands what you're saying, Cleo said with a frustrated look on her face. Obviously a smart watch, it most likely a more high-tech watch. Keep up, grandma, Naruto said as he rolled his eyes. Don't you have to be a PP somewhere else? Cleo asked as her eyebrow twitched in irritation. Not until 4, Naruto said with a shrug, getting laughs from some of the clones. Anyway, the rest of us are gonna help you all shake off those cobwebs by hosting y'all in our first ever Clone High Unity Week, Frida said with a smile at the crowd, getting cheers from the crowd of students. And to give us the details of my sister from another petri dish, Harriet Turman, Frida said as she held out her arm as a dark-skinned teen with pink hair cartwheeled onto the stage, getting cheers from the crowd. Thank you and welcome to the future. There will be tons of Unity events this week, so you better sign up. I'm very serious, I will know if you didn't. I'll find you, I swear, Harriet said happily before her tone changed to more firm as she looked at everyone. Yeah, that's not off-putting, Naruto said as he raised an eyebrow at this. Anyway, we're passing around a sign-up sheet now, peace, Frida said as she dropped the microphone. High school sucked the first time around and it's definitely gonna suck now that I have been frozen for 20 years, Joan said with an annoyed look on her face. I don't know, maybe it will be fine living in the future. Hey look, they have pencils attached to string now, Abe said as he took the sign-up sheet that was passed to him. You sure the quack didn't drop you while you were frozen, bud? Naruto asked, Rosa eyebrow. Let's just get this over with, Joan said with a sigh as they all started to leave the auditorium. Later. Everyone was now outside the school and the track as they all got ready to do the first Unity Week activity, which involved frozen clones switching shoes with a non-frozen clone and walking a mile together. Okay, everyone pair up and let's get this started, a teen boy with blue hair said as he held up his phone and recorded today's events. This was Confucius. Everyone paired off and started to trade shoes with each other, leaving Naruto alone. Hey, I think we ran out of students here, Naruto said as he looked at Frida. Don't worry, I know someone who hasn't paired off yet, Whiskers. Hey Salana, Frida said to Naruto before she yelled over to someone in the crowd of students. From the crowd of students came a teen girl who rollerbladed towards them. She had fair skin, short black hair styled in pixie cut with blue highlights, and dark green eyes. Her outfit was a mix of punk and goth and consisted of a gray fishnet top with a sleeveless black vest, black shirt with blue flames at the bottom, torn stockings, and black boots. As the girl approached them, Naruto's eyes widened as the world seems to slow down for him as he watched this girl approach, and as she approached he started to smile in a dopey way and gain hearts in his eyes. Hey bro, you okay? Joan asked as she saw this happen. Naruto opened his mouth, but instead of words he started to babble like an idiot, his smile getting bigger as Salana approached them. Joan raised an eyebrow at this before she looked at Salana and then Naruto before her eyes widened in realization before she smiled evilly. Oh, I have waited so long for this day, she said. What's up, Frida? Salana asked as she stopped in front of her and Harriet. We have a spare frozen clone that needs a partner for the walk a mile in someone else's shoes event, Frida said as she gestured to Naruto, who still had his dopey smile and hearts in his eyes. If he okay? Salana asked Joan as she raised an eyebrow at this. Most people who know him would say it depends on the time and day. Hey bro. Snap out of it, Joan said with as she grabbed Naruto's shoulder and shook him a bit to snap him out of it. What? What is it? Naruto yelled in a panic as he shook his head and came back to his senses. Hey, I heard you need a partner for this event, Blondie. You're okay with rollerblades, right? Salana asked as she sat down on a bench and started to take off her rollerblades. Oh sure. There's nothing I can't handle, Naruto said with a smile as he took off his shoes and switched with her before he put on her roller blades, and as he stood up his legs started to wobble frantically. You okay there, Blondie? Salana asked with a raised eyebrow as Naruto started to try and follow after the others with her close behind. Sure. I can handle this easy. Oi. Out of my way, Sunday driver. It's only Monday. Naruto said before he yelled at some students as he started to roll past them out of control before he crashed into a picnic table set up nearby. I'm okay, he yelled as he held up his hand in a thumbs up. Oh, this is glorious, Joan said with a smile at her brother making a fool out of himself in front of a girl he obviously liked. What's with Naruto? He's usually more coordinated than this, Abe said as he raised an eyebrow at this, getting a sigh from Joan at her best friend's cluelessness. Later. It was now lunchtime and everyone was in line getting their food. Oi. Where's the ramen in this cafeteria? Naruto asked as he looked at all the available meals and saw that there was no ramen. Oh, they don't serve that here, Harriet said as she paid for her food. What? Naruto yelled as his eyes widened in surprise. Yeah, apparently Scudworth banned that from the school 20 years ago to celebrate a problem student being removed from the school, Frida said as she led some students to a section of the cafeteria that was for the popular crowd. You're dead, you third-rate hack. Naruto yelled to the sky dramatically. Oi. I'm second-rate at the very least. Oh God. Scudworth yelled as he poked his head into the cafeteria, before Naruto tackled him like a linebacker and started to beat him up. Wow, Joan, your brother is, interesting, Harriet said as Joan sat with her and Frida along with JFK. Yeah. Joan said with an eye roll. So what's the deal with him? Was he dropped while in his test tube or something? Salana asked as she approached their table and sat with them. Nah, he was raised by Scudworth, Joan said as she shook her head. Ah, enough said, Salana said as she nodded at this as Naruto continued to beat up Scudworth. Suffer for your crimes, you quack. Naruto yelled as he shook the mad principal by his neck. Someone please make him some ramen. Scudworth yelled out as he tried in vain to get him to let go of his neck. As this was happening, Mr. B rolled into the cafeteria wearing a chef's hat and carrying a big pot of ramen, which caused Naruto to stop what he was doing and start to sniff the air before he let go of Scudworth and ran over to Mr. B, who had put the pot on a table which Naruto started to eat from with gusto. Sir, don't go into the light. Mr. B said as he went over to Scudworth, who was now laying on the ground. Salana chuckled at this. Well, at least he makes Scudworth miserable, she said as she ate her hamburger. Not a fan of old Scudworth, eh? JFK asked curiously. Not really, that idiot and me have some history that I don't want to get into, Salana said as she scowled a bit. Later. It was after school and Naruto was making his way to his locker and paused as he saw Cleo next to her own locker looking miserable. Hey patient zero, how's adjusting to modern times going? Have they found a cure for that rash yet? At least I hope it's a rash, Naruto asked with a chuckle as he approached his locker. F off Uzumaki, I'm not in the mood for your bullshit, Cleo growled as she closed her locker and looked at the blonde clone. Oh, what's the matter? You at least trade insults with me a little bit, so it must be bad, Naruto said as he looked through his locker. Have you been paying attention? Or have you been too busy being a pathetic simp for that freak with the rollerblades? Cleo asked as she looked at Naruto, unaware that Salana was rolling towards them after getting her bag out of her locker. You got something to say to me, Barbie doll? Salana asked as she raised an eyebrow at Cleo. Naruto snorted at this before he went silent as Cleo glared at him before she looked at Salana. My problem is that everything is so different now. Joan is considered cool along with people like Frida and Harriet, Cleo said with a scowl. Yeah, it took 20 years for people with merit to be considered cool, ain't it great? Naruto asked with a grin at this. Don't you have a ramen truck to go hijack or something? Cleo asked as she looked at Naruto with a annoyed look. There's a ramen truck, where? Naruto yelled excitedly. That's not a thing, Blondie, Salana said with a sigh. Ah hell, normally I would prank Miss Congeniality here for messing with me, but I need to go catch up with Abe as I haven't heard from him in a bit, Naruto said as he looked. There's a reason for that, Whiskers, he got himself cancelled for running his mouth, Salana said with a sigh. Eh? What's that? Naruto asked curiously. It pretty much means becoming a social outcast for doing or saying something really offensive, Salana said, deciding to summarize it for the blonde. How the hell did that happen? It's only been a day. Plus he's just been unfrozen, isn't there a grace period for F's sake? Naruto asked as he narrowed his eyes at this. Yeah, I figured it would be you who got cancelled first, Cleo said with a scoff. Naruto scowled at this, but before he could say anything. Hey B, why don't you crawl back into the vodka bottle you crawled out of? Salana asked as she glared at Cleo a bit, which caused the veins on the sides of her eyes to slightly budge. Cleo scoffed at this before she walked away from the two teens. Naruto's eyes widened at this before he smiled as he looked at Salana with hearts in his eyes again. Anyway Blondie, you're preaching to the choir when it comes to your buddy. I was telling Frida and Harriet that not all the frozen clones would be able to handle adjusting to modern times as easily as Joan, Salana said as she looked at Naruto as he composed himself. Well, thanks for that, at least you know where Abe is now. Naruto asked curiously. Last I saw him he was hanging out at the old docks, Salana said as she swatted off towards the door leading outside. The thinking docks. Of course. Man, I am off today, I wonder why that is. Naruto said as he snapped his fingers in realization before he ran off, passing by the female clone. Must have stuff on your mind. Salana said with a shrug. Thinking docks. Naruto approached the docks and saw Abe sitting on the edge of the docks. Hey buddy, how have you been? Whoa, has the water level always been this bad? Naruto asked as he approached Abe and noticed there was no water in the lake. Climate change, at least that's what Confucius said, Abe said with a frown. That's real. Remind me to apologize to all Gore, Naruto said with a chuckle as he sat next to Abe. This didn't get a response from Abe, who still looked miserable. Let me guess you're upset about Joan moving up socially? Naruto asked as he looked at his friend. Abe nodded at this and said nothing. Ah, well then, Naruto said before he slapped Abe in the back of the head. Gah! The heck bro? Abe yelled as he held the back of his head in pain. Abe, for F's sake stop acting like you're in the wrong. You're not. You were clueless about Joan liking you, so what? You were clueless about practically everything, not just girls. I mean, you thought Cleo was cuckolding you once. Naruto ranted at Abe, whose eyes widened at this being thrown in his face. Abe lowered his head as his friend then placed a hand on his shoulder. Look man, you messed, but seriously, why do you even give an AF? You got me and Gandhi with you, 3 amigops for life, and we can just do our own thing. Naruto said with a smile at his friend. Yeah, you're right. Hey, where is Gandhi anyway? I haven't seen him at all since we got unfrozen. Abe said as he looked at Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened hearing this before his eyes narrowed. Scudworth's office. Scudworth was sitting in his office doing some paperwork, humming, when suddenly the office door bursts open, revealing a pissed off Naruto. Hey! That's expensive, you, gah! Scudworth was yelling before Naruto lifted Scudworth out of his chair, holding him by his collar. Where is he? Naruto demanded. Who? Scudworth asked nervously, causing Naruto to frantically shake him like a rag doll. I can do this all day, you quack. Don't think I have lost my touch after 20 years, Naruto growled as he grabbed his guitar and raised it, ready to bash his adopted father's head in. I give. Here, take it. Scudworth yelled in a panic as he held up the key to the freezer. Thanks, quack, and tell the SpongeBob-looking chick upstairs that if she crosses me by doing something to Gandhi she will get worse than you, Naruto said as he took the key and walked out of the office before slamming the door closed behind him, cracking the frame. It's like nothing has changed, Mr. B said happily as he dusted the office. Don't remind me, Scudworth said with a scowl as he rubbed his neck. The next day in the cafeteria. It was the next day and Joan was making her way to her table in the popular section where Frida, Harriet, Salana and JFK were waiting for her. "You are hey Joni. Saved you a seat," JFK said with a smile as he waved at Joan. "Thanks JFK, have any of you guys seen my bro?" Joan asked as she sat next to JFK. "Nope, it's been pretty quiet too," Harriet said with a smile of relief. "I think Salana said he was looking for Abe yesterday after he found out what happened yesterday," Frida said as she shrugged her shoulders. Joan chuckled nervously at this as she knew Naruto would most likely do something drastic when he found out about Abe being cancelled. "What's got you nervous?" Salana asked curiously seeing Joan's reaction. "Well, my bro is kinda loyal to his friends almost to an insane degree and I'm not sure how he will react to what happened with Abe," Joan said as she looked around for any sign of Naruto. "Relax Joanne, I'm sure he won't do anything too over the top," JFK said as he patted Joan on the shoulder to comfort her. Before Joan could respond to this however. Smash! Naruto kicked his way into the cafeteria getting silence from the cafeteria. "Oh don't mind me, I'm just here to get my lunch for me and my bros, seeing as we're the kind of school who likes to shun people rather than try and help them learn. By the way, how's that Unity week going?" Naruto asked as he gave everyone a glare before stopping as he looked at Joan's table. Salana snorted at this, which got looks from the others at her table. "What? He's right, you say we're doing a Unity week but you cancel Lincoln just because it's easier than putting in the effort with him?" she asked, raising an eyebrow at this. "Look, Abe was given a chance and Frida was saying before she was cut off. Guys were created 20 years ago, of course we aren't gonna know what's offensive to say nowadays. I mean come on, who gives a f about any of that? Just cause times change doesn't mean we gotta change with it instantly, and I've brought a good friend to remind you of that." "Gandhi!" Naruto shouted as an explosion erupted from behind him. Jumping out from the smoke was Gandhi. "Say what?" Gandhi screamed, causing all the clones' eyes to light up and scream out in joy and cheer. "Gandhi!" Joan and JFK shouted in surprise. "Gandhi!" Chloe exclaimed from her table. "Gandhi!" His clone father was exposed as Harriet was shouting before she was cut off. "Oh shut up. My bro is his own man," Naruto yelled as Gandhi landed next to him and Abe. "What about dudes? Sorry for being late to the party, but I've heard about what's been going on here at Clone High and I've got something I think we all need to hear." Gandhi said, picking up the other students listened. "Let's burn this mother down," Gandhi shouted as he took out a torch and pitchfork. "Yeewa!" The older clones shouted, getting up from their seats. "Riot!" Genghis said, throwing a table over at the food stand, shattering the glass. F 2023. F 2023, the older clones chanted as a riot started. "I am an animal," Naruto yelled as he took out his guitar and smashed it against a wall, making a hole. This get looks of shock from Harriet and Frida. "Yeah, like I said, my brother is loyal and if you cross him, well, you get this," Joan said with a sigh. I heard of loyalty but DMN," Salana said with a chuckle at this as the riot continued outside. Scudworth's office. "Scudworth!" Candide yelled as she entered the principal's office with one of her lizards on her shoulder. "What is it, woman?" "I'm very busy right now," Scudworth said as he attempted to flick a paper football towards Mr. B, who was holding up his claws as the goal posts. "Why the hell did you let the clone of the great sage unfreeze Gandhi?" Candide demanded as she approached Scudworth's desk and slammed her hand on the desk, stopping the principal from playing his game. "'Cause I have raised that boy since I cloned him, and I know when I can't win a battle with him, and separating the three amigops." "Ha!" Scudworth said before he laughed loudly. "Three amigops?" Candide asked, raising an eyebrow at this. "Naruto misspelled amigos back when they met and it stuck," Scudworth said simply. "Ah, one of my favorite childhood memories, Wesley," Mr. B said with a smile. "Well, him and his buddies have started a riot and I'm sure even a moron like you can control him if you dash," Candide was saying before she was cut off. "Are you kidding?" The only fight I ever won with him was to make him clean his room. Scudworth yelled out. I bribed him with ramen to do that, Wesley, Mr. B stated matter-of-factly. DMN it. I knew that fight was won too easily. Scudworth yelled as he slammed his fists on his desk. Candide's eyebrow twitched in irritation at this as she tried to think up a plan to get control of Naruto. With Naruto. Later on with Naruto, Abe and Gandhi, it was after the riot hand ended and the three friends were now hanging out at the park. Nothing like a riot to celebrate getting off ice. Gandhi said as he lifted his arms in the air with a smile. It makes a effective .2 GAH. Naruto was saying with a smile before he was hit in the back on the head with his own guitar by Joan, who had a look of irritation on her face. Hey Joan. How you been, Bayach? Gandhi asked with a smile. You're next, you idiot. Joan yelled as she raised Naruto's guitar ready to hit Gandhi, who yelled in fear as he hid behind Abe. Joan, come on, this is unnecessary, Abe said as he tried to keep Joan from hitting Gandhi. Like hell it's not. You idiots pretty much ruined Unity Week with this stunt. Now the modern clones think us frozen clones are all nuts. Joan yelled as she glared at Abe. We started riots for winning a track meet, was there any doubt? Naruto asked as he rubbed the back of his head before. Smash. Joan smashed his head with his guitar, leaving him on the ground with his guitar embedded in his head. I was hoping with you finally getting a crush you would be able to grow up and handle things with more maturity, but obviously I was wrong. Joan said as she walked away from Naruto, Abe and Gandhi. Geez, we really messed up, didn't we? Abe asked as he didn't want both groups of clones to hate each other. Wait, you have a crush? Gandhi yelled as he looked at the downed Naruto. I'm walking on sunshine, Naruto sang deliriously as starts flew around his head before Abe grabbed his guitar and pulled it out of his head. Pull yourself together, bud, we need to figure out a way to fix this, Abe said as Naruto got to his feet. Okay, wait, that Unity Luncheon is tomorrow, right? Naruto asked as he looked at Abe. Yeah, why? Abe said as he nodded, confirming this. Naruto smiled at this as he took his guitar back from Abe. Well, we have always wanted to start a band together, right? He asked with a smile. I'm on drums. Gandhi yelled as he held his arms in the air. As long as the song we play actually gets everyone to get along, I'm in, Abe said as he nodded at Naruto. Okay, let's go practice. Thankfully the quack's ban on me performing ran out while I was frozen, Naruto said with a smile as they all left the park. Yeah, so what's this about you having a crush? How hot is she? Is she nuts like you? Gandhi asked as he ran to catch up with Naruto. I can't hear you. Naruto yelled as he put his fingers in his ears and started to sing loudly so he couldn't hear his friend. The next day. It was the next day and everyone was at the Unity Luncheon. But sadly, thanks to Naruto's rant and starting a riot, the clones from 2003 and the clones from 2023 were all staying separate from each other, practically ignoring each other. This is horrible. Harriet yelled with a frown as she looked at the two separate groups either ignoring each other or giving each other the stink eye. Yeah, while your bro had a good reason for being mad, this really isn't helping, Salana said with a sigh at Joan, who had been helping them set up along with JFK to try and show cooperation. I already told him he and the others are idiots, thanks, Joan said with a scowl. You are hitting him with his own guitar was telling him? JFK asked curiously. Joan chuckled sheepishly at this while Frida and Harriet looked at her curiously while Salana burst out laughing at this. As this was happening, Frida noticed Naruto, Abe and Gandhi getting set up on a stage nearby. Joan, your brother is doing something again, she said as she pointed at the trio. Oh God, how can this get any worse? Joan said with a groan as Naruto approached the microphone. Testing, okay everyone, me and my boys here are here to play a song to try bring us all together, Naruto said into the microphone for everyone to hear. And what's with this sudden change? Cleo asked curiously from the 2003 side. Blow to the head, Naruto said as he looked at Joan with an apologetic look. Joan sighed at this and nodded, seeing that Naruto was actually trying. We are BLD.org. We're here to rock your socks off. Gandhi yelled as he held up his drumsticks. Ignore him folks, we are still working on a name, Abe said into his microphone before he gave Gandhi a killing gesture under his neck. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go. Naruto said as his fingers strum hard and fast along his guitar while Gandhi bangs away at his drums and Abe followed on his own guitar, all the while the clones of 2003 and 2023 started to gather around the stage drawn to the sound of the music. Naruto jumped into the air as a massive explosion erupted behind him as he landed on his knees wildly strumming his guitar. Gandhi hit and banged on his drums at a steady pace, being sure to keep up with the rhythm of Naruto's guitar. Come on Abe. Put some more force in it. George Washington Carver shouted. Abe sped up his strums looking over at his friends giving him a smile nodding. Abe looked around when he noticed Joan in the crowd. And suddenly he felt a surge rush through him. The president clone got up to the left side and began to fiercely run his fingers along his guitar making the others smirk. Naruto and Abe pushed back to back bobbing their heads with Naruto raising his fist in the air. Gandhi twirled his stick sticking out his tongue wildly like a snake before he rapidly began banging away again and again, lights shooting off from the stage lying in all directions catching everyone's attention. Naruto slid along the stage throwing up his hand with clones following along. Naruto looked over at Salana giving her a wink but the tomboy clone just rolled her eyes but lightly smirked. I feel fine. Naruto, Abe and Gandhi yelled as they finished their song getting cheers from the students who all started to interact and enjoy the luncheon. Not bad you three, Frida said with a smile at the three clones as they got off the stage and approached them. Does this mean Abe gets another chance? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow as Abe's head perked up in hope at another chance. Well, normally no, but seeing as he's actually trying and you and Salana made a good point about some clones needing more time to adjust, so why don't we just pretend the last week of mistakes didn't happen? Frida asked. Abe asked as she held out a fist to Naruto. Works for me, Naruto said with a grin as he made his own fist and bumped it against Frida's. Oh God, look at that. Gandhi yelled as he pointed at Joan and JFK who were making out for all to see. Abe started to cry at this before he slumped his shoulders. Wow, sis is handsy, Naruto said with a wince as he patted Abe on the shoulder in sympathy. You're a couple of SLTS. Gandhi yelled loudly at JFK and Joan getting some laughs from the other students. Not bad Blondie, I didn't think you could actually play that thing, Salana said with a small smile as Naruto approached her. Are you impressed enough to go on a date with me? Naruto asked with a smile. Wow, you don't waste time do you Blondie? Salana asked with a chuckle. What's this? Uzumaki actually likes a girl? JFK asked as he and Joan separated. This got silence as Solana's smile disappeared and Frida and Harriet looked up in surprise hearing this. Wait, what? Salana asked with a slight edge in her tone as the side of her eyes started to bulge violently as she glared at Naruto. What? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, GAH. Naruto was saying before Salana jabbed a fist into his gut making him hunch over in pain before he was sent flying into the stage which was destroyed as he crashed through it. What the hell Salana? Joan yelled in surprise as Sue approached the teen girl but was grabbed by Frida and Harriet. Joan, trust me, you don't want to be in her way, Harriet said as she shook her head. Yeah, this isn't good, Frida said with a sigh as Salana stomped towards the downed Naruto who was groaning as he got up. Ugh, that hurt a lot, what the hell was that? Naruto groaned as he held his stomach before Salana grabbed him by his shirt and pulled him to his feet. Listen closely you idiot, stay the F away from me, Salana growled at Naruto before she dropped him in a heap on the ground before she walked away from Naruto, everyone getting out of her way. Wow, Naruto said with a smile as he watched her leave. Later that night with Naruto. Bro, are you sure you want to do this? Gandhi asked as he Naruto and Abe snuck around in a backyard in the middle of the night. Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to PSS Salana off, Abe said with a frown. Shut up, you idiot. Naruto shouted, a light turned on showing a silhouette comes to the window. A vision of beauty approaches. Naruto uttered looking up at the balcony. OSHT. She spotted us. You have the floor, Naruto. Abe said as he looked at Naruto. You're such a chicken. What do you think she'll do, bite you? Naruto said annoyed by his friend cowardice. No, but don't you think we should dash, Abe was saying before he was cut off. Get out there. Naruto shouted, putting Abe center stage. Naruto strings his bass guitar in front of the window while Abe starts playing his guitar and Gandhi begins to drum. Hit me. Have mercy. Sweet Salana, don't give me gas. Right on. Oh baby. Salana, you are so rad. Oh baby. Stop me. Naruto sang just as the figure threw open the window revealing. You guys rock. Frida exclaimed her with her done in a large bun. Frida? Naruto asked slack-jawed at this. Oh, hello, Frida. Abe said mortified. Nice head there, bucko. Gandhi shouted with a smile. Can I join your band? I play a mean keyboard. Frida smirked, shocking the trio. Do you have experience? Naruto asked as Abe fainted while Gandhi smiled. Later that night with Salana. Salana made her way to the bathroom, stopping back at the sink. She let out a sigh after the text she just got from Frida. Man, that guy's a bigger goof than I thought he'd be, what a pain. Salana said, running her hand through her hair, setting down a tube of red hair dye. She reached to her eyes, plucking out the green contact lenses, revealing her pure white eyes that resembled the moon. As Salana looked at the mirror, she could only glare at her reflection with contempt. This was the reason she changed her hair, this was why she wore contacts, it was the only way to be herself and not this woman. Not Hinata Hyuga. Scudworth's office. It was morning and the mad principal was at his desk as Mr. B brought him his coffee. Another new day started with a good cup of coffee, Scudworth said as he took the cup, but before he could take a sip. Shitworth. Salana yelled as she barged into the office, her hair now dyed so it had yellow highlights. Scudworth let out a scream as his coffee spilled over his face, causing him to roll along the floor in pain. Oh God! It burns! It's delicious and it burns! Scudworth screamed, staggering up to his desk. My dear Salana, what can I do for you? What you can do is get that but Uzumaki off my back, 'cause if you don't I'm gonna make your life a living hell. Salona said with true rage as she approached the principal's desk. Oh, you have met Naruto? Mr. B asked curiously. Before Salana growled at the robot butler making him hide behind Scudworth. Scudworth simply sat in chair with a calm expression, linking his hands together as he raised an eyebrow before giving a soft chuckle. My dear girl, I've been blown up, dropped down a chimney, hit with a massive stink bomb that left me smelling like a toxic waste dump for 5 years, locked out of my house for a month, electrocuted, kicked in the TSTCLS 996 times, blasted out of an open window, and all kinds of other SHT. Nothing you can do to me could possibly compare with the endless torment that boy brings me. Scudworth said as he looked at the mad clone with a calm expression. Sir, need I remind you why you let her become emancipated? Mr. B said as he held up his arm. Scudworth froze at this before he started to have flashbacks to nannies screaming in fear and destruction from the young clone's rampages. I surrender. Scudworth yelled in fear as he covered his face and went into the fetal position. Nice to know you remember, but just tell that idiot to leave me alone. Salana growled as she went to the door. Salana, maybe you should just talk to him. Mr. B was saying before he was cut off. You talk to him. Salana yelled before she slammed the door behind her, shattering the glass door behind her, revealing Gandhi, who was just about to enter the office before he ran away from the mad clone. Girl has a mean case of BBCD, Scudworth said as he shivered in fear. Later with Naruto. It was later in the day and Naruto was heading outside after getting his lunch from his locker for lunchtime. As he approached his walked outside he saw Abe and Gandhi who were hanging out with Confucius. "Hey guys, what's up?" Naruto said as he walked over his friends. "Oh hey Naruto," Abe said with a smile at the blonde. "Our buddy Confucius is showing us some cool stuff on his phone. You know they let anyone post videos on the internet now?" Gandhi asked as he looked at Naruto. "That wasn't a passing fad. I owe Joan a 20-inch," Naruto said as he looked at Confucius who had his phone out. "Oh sure, a lot has happened the past 20 years, heck you should catch up on entrainment, a lot of cool stuff has come out," Confucius said with a friendly grin at the blonde. "Well, me and my boys here we're gonna have a boys' night tonight and head to the video rental shop, you want in?" Naruto asked as he didn't have a problem with Confucius as he seemed like a cool guy. Gasp. A fourth amigo. Gandhi yelled in surprise while Abe smiled at this, glad that Naruto was being friendly with one of the next generation clones. "Sure. We can hang out at my place though, what's a video rental shop?" Confucius asked curiously as he smiled at Naruto before he raised his eyebrow curiously. "Oh right, those don't exist anymore Naruto," Abe said as he had heard from Frida about how renting movies from shops were pretty much a thing of the past these days. "Oh come on. Is anything sacred anymore?" Naruto yelled as he scowled at this. "Relax bro, we have something way better now, prepare to be introduced to the world of streaming," Confucius said as he put his arm around Naruto's shoulders. "Not really a fisherman but I'll hear ya out," Naruto said as he sighed knowing he should at least hear this out. "Hey Joan. You want in? It's brothers' night." Gandhi yelled as he spotted Joan who was near a bush nearby with Frida and Harriet. Joan groaned at this as she looked down at the ground before she headed back inside the school. "Something I said?" Gandhi asked Frida while Harriet went after her. "She was a bit depressed after telling us about how she didn't have a lot of girlfriends back in 2003, Frida said. "Yeah, closest thing sis had to a girlfriend back then was Cleo and we usually sold tickets to those fights," Naruto said with a casual tone. "You think you and Harriet can hang out with her while we have our night out?" Abe asked Frida as he knew he could ask her seeing as they were friends after she joined their band after their mistake the previous night. "I'm ahead of you stretch, me and Harriet were gonna ask Joan to come to our slumber party at Salana's tonight," Frida said as she gave Abe a smile and a thumbs up. "Great, I can get Salana's address from sis so I can try my serenade plan again," Naruto said with a grin. "Yeah well, keep us out of it, that girl has a bad case of BBCD, Gandhi said with a shudder as he looked up from his new phone. "BBCD?" Abe asked curiously while Confucius and Frida groaned at this. "BB crazy disease, gah," Gandhi said before Naruto grabbed him by the front of his shirt. "Who taught you that? Talk or that's 10 wax, you're lucky you're a bro, or it would be the usual 30-inch," Naruto growled as he grabbed his guitar off his back. "It was Scudworth who called her that," Gandhi yelled in a panic as he waved his arms. "Thank you for your cooperation," Naruto said as he dropped his friend before he started to make a beeline for the school. "Oh, this is gonna go well," Abe said with a sigh as he knew Naruto was most likely gonna cause a scene with the mad scientist. "Can't be any worse than when Salana and old man Scudworth go at it," Frida said as she shook her head and Confucius shuddered. "She and Scudworth have fought before too?" Abe asked curiously. "Fought would be putting it mildly," Confucius said as he frowned. "Well, you can't really blame her," Frida said as she crossed her arms while Confucius nodded. "Okay, am I missing something?" Abe asked raising an eyebrow at this. "Yeah, what's her problem?" Gandhi asked curiously. "It has to do with who her clone mother is and Scudworth trying to mold her to be like her," Frida said as she frowned. "Well, Naruto and her have that in common," Abe said as he knew Naruto was the same way when it came to his clone father. "Yeah, bro hates being compared to that sage guy. If anything, her attacking him makes even less sense now," Gandhi said as he crossed his arms. "Well, there is a reason for that," Frida said as she looked at her bandmates and told them the truth about Salana. "Say what?" Gandhi yelled in shock of this revelation. "Well, if Naruto hasn't killed old Scudworth yet, he definitely will when he finds out about this," Abe said with a sigh. With Naruto. Naruto entered the office of the mad principal and his robot companion with a kick to the door. Okay, you quack me and you have a problem. Naruto yelled as he entered the office where Mr. B was trying to calm Scudworth down after his flashback to when he was raising Salana. Gah! He found out. Save me, Mr. B. Scudworth yelled as he hid behind his desk after seeing Naruto. You knew when you did it years ago that he would be mad, Wesley, Mr. B said as he shook his head. Wait, you called my future main gal AB long ago? Naruto asked, raising an eyebrow at this. What are you on about, you brat? I thought you found out about. Nothing, Scudworth was saying before he saw Mr. B making a killing gesture under his neck, causing him to stop what he was gonna say. Oh well, that sounds like the, truth, Naruto said with a flat tone of voice as he grabbed his guitar off his back, knowing he would most likely have to get physical to make the mad principal talk. So Naruto, how have you been getting used to the new changes in the modern world? Mr. B said as he approached Naruto to try and distract him. It's been okay so far. Me and my boys are gonna hang out with Confucius tonight so he can introduce us to some modern stuff. By the way, what the heck is a streaming service and how the heck can it cause video stores to go out of business? Naruto asked as he looked at Mr. B. A streaming service is what people use to watch entertainment by streaming video over the internet through your TV, phone or computer, Mr. B said as if he had this speech prepared. Yeah, they have all kinds of streaming services for all kinds of entertainment, movies, shows, anime dash, Scudworth was saying before he was cut off. Anime is actually popular now. Bitchin. Naruto said with a smile at this revelation. I'll send you our log and information now you have class, Mr. B said as he pushed Naruto towards the door. Thanks, Mr. B, oh. And if you call Salana AB again I'll get you like a fish. Naruto said with a smile before he slammed the door closed behind him. It's almost fascinating that they are both psychotic rebels, Scudworth said with a sigh of relief that he had avoided a beating. Yeah, and you didn't have anything to do with that, Wesley, Mr. B said with a flat tone. Yeah, at least distracting the brat with modern entertainment will give us a break from his insanity, Scudworth said as he sat at his desk. You do realize once he sees some of the modern hits out there he's gonna figure out you rated his idea books while he was frozen, right? Mr. B asked curiously. Scudworth said nothing to this before he slammed his head into the desk, causing Mr. B to sigh. With Naruto. It was now after school and Naruto was at his locker putting his school books away while Joan approached him. Hey sis, how you doing? You trade up from that idiot? Naruto asked as he turned to look at his sister before he looked down the hall and saw that JFK was crying in the fetal position. I need a favor from you and the others, Joan said as she sighed at this. You want me to beat up JFK so he backs off? Sure thing, sis. Naruto said with a grin as he walked past Joan while grabbing his guitar as he made a beeline for JFK. Freeze, mister. That's not what I need from you. Joan yelled as she grabbed Naruto's arm, stopping him. Dang, well, what you need then, sis? Naruto asked curiously as he looked at Joan. I am going to a sleepover over at Salana's with Frida and Harriet, and JFK doesn't have anyone to hang out with, so dash, Joan was saying before she was cut off. Joan, are you on some SHT right now? Naruto asked, interrupting Joan. Please. Naruto, please just do this for me. JFK is lonely, he doesn't have any male friends to hang out with. Joan said as she frowned as she looked at her boyfriend who was still crying down the hall. He's also mine and Abe's archenemy since Clone Middle School. The guy's insufferable, idiotic, sexist, incompetent, and a nuisance, and those are his good qualities. Naruto stated. Come on Naruto, you owe me. Joan said as she looked at her brother. No I don't. Naruto said, holding up a chart. According to this I've fulfilled all my debts to you, in fact you're the one who owes me, he said as he looked over the list before he started to walk away from Joan. I'll put in a good word for you with Salana. Joan said, smirking as Naruto froze up. Hey JFK. You free to hang out tonight with me and my boys? Naruto yelled as he walked towards JFK. Really? I mean sure. I was hoping to hang out with you cause my Joni sees you as family. Is it okay if I call you brother? JFK asked as he shot to his feet and smiled at Naruto. Just follow me, Naruto said as he forced a smile as he led JFK out of the school. Joan shook her head as she smiled at this as she almost felt guilty considering how easy it was to get Naruto to do this. Later with Joan. Hey foster mom. Joan greeted her new foster parent as she walked in revealing none other than Candid. Hello foster daughter, I was just preparing you dinner as I am required by law to feed you. Candid said digging in the oven only to pull out a bag of takeout from the grassy knoll. Oh, hey is it okay if I go to sleepover tonight? Joan asked piquing the blonde lizard lover's interests. A sleepover? Where you tell your deepest personal secrets to other female clones? Candid asked. Yeah, Frida and Harriet invited me to one at Salona's. Joan added, causing Candid's face to break out into a Grinch grin. Salona, the rebellious, headstrong, overly violent clone that harbors a deep grudge against your adopted clone brother? Candid asked, could feel opportunity tugging at her cold black heart. Yeah. Joan asked. Of course you can. Candid said, I've got work stuff bye. She said, dropping the grassy knoll bag on the table and running out. Joan could only give out a despairing sigh at her new guardian. I wish Toots hadn't died in that clarinet accident while I was frozen. As she opened a takeout box to reveal it filled with grasshoppers. Later with Naruto. Naruto, Abe, Gandhi and JFK were walking down the street looking for Confucius home, seeing as he had invited them over to his place for guys' night. Okay, I think this is the place brothers, Gandhi said as he looked at the address Confucius had given him. Everyone looked at the house, which was a big mansion. Are you sure you have the right address, little man? JFK asked Gandhi as he looked at the mansion surprised. Yeah, Confucius doesn't scream rich to me, Abe said as he looked at the mansion surprised. I don't know, latest fashion, wanting to stand out and make friends, most likely cause he's isolated, and had the latest tech, Naruto said as he listed off some things he noticed about Confucius. As Naruto was saying this, the front door of the mansion opened, revealing Confucius. Hey bros, you're just in time. I just got done getting the snacks ready in the living room. Confucius said with a smile at them. Who? Snacks? Gandhi yelled as he went inside the mansion excitedly. Sorry, I brought JFK. Joan asked me to bring him, seeing as she is busy with her girlfriends tonight, Naruto said as he followed after Gandhi along with Abe and JFK. It's fine, the more the merrier, follow me, Confucius said as he led them all towards the living room. Are you sure your parents are okay with you having guests? Abe asked curiously as they looked around the mansion. They don't mind, plus my parents are on another world tour or something, Confucius said as he shrugged before he led them into a big room with couches and a big table where all kinds of food was sitting. Score! Gandhi said as he ran over to the food. Make yourselves at home bros, Confucius said with a smile at them as they all found a place to sit. Yup, definitely lonely, Naruto said with a sigh as he could tell Confucius really wanted to make a good impression with them. So what are we doing first? JFK asked as he sat down on a couch. Well, you all wanted to catch up on some modern entertainment, so let's break out the pizza and get started, Confucius said as he turned on the big screen TV which showed several images of different apps. Movie night. Gandhi yelled as he sat down on the couch with a bowl of popcorn. You gonna share that? Abe asked as he looked at his friend as Confucius loaded up a app. Netflix? Don't they mail DVDs? Naruto asked as he looked at the screen. They used to, but they are the biggest streaming service now. They have some of the best exclusives too, Confucius said with a smile. Oh, like what? Is that supposed to be One Piece? Naruto was asking before he saw what looked like a live-action show of the popular manga/anime. Isn't that the pirate comic you were into 20 years ago? Abe asked Naruto curiously. Why the F is this in live action? Naruto yelled out loudly. What's the problem? JFK asked, raising an eyebrow at this. The problem is that most live-action adaptations of anime and manga end up being CRP, Naruto said as he scowled. Well, maybe they have learned to do better in the past 2 decades, Abe said as he tried to see the bright side. Fine, 1 episode then I make a hit list, Naruto said with a scowl as he mentally prepared himself for what he thought would be an excruciating ordeal. With Candid. Within Scudworth's office, Candid was addressing the board of shadowy figures. Members of the board. Joan is attending a sleepover tonight, where girls traditionally reveal their deepest, darkest secrets. Candid said, also Naruto will be attending one with his male friends. I know the rules of a sleepover. Get us those secrets so we can blackmail whichever clones survive Operation Spread Eagle. The male member of the board ordered. That's not all, they are also attending said sleepover at Salana's. Candid further added, enticing the board. I'll DRG the clones using my patent-pending truth serum. Candid said while pulling out a container of red liquid. This however is my experimental mind control DRG. Once we get Naruto and Salana to consume it, we'll have them both under our control. Excellent, with both Naruto and Hinata Uzumaki's clones under our command, nothing will be able to stand in our way. The leader said. Be warned though, Candid, our previous attempts at controlling Salana have been less than adequate. She warned. Yes, I'm aware. Candid brushed off as the call ended. With Joan. Meanwhile, with Joan, she had made her way over to Salana's place along with Frida and Harriet. Just relax girl, Salana is a great host, Harriet said as she smiled at Joan as they approached the front door. Yeah, just don't mention her clone mother and you should be fine, Frida said as she knocked on the front door. Who is her clone? Joan was asking before the door opened, revealing Salana. What is she doing here? Salana asked as she looked at Joan before looking at Frida and Harriet. We decided to invite Joan since she seems cool after helping with the Unity luncheon, Harriet said as she put her arm around Joan's shoulder. Solana's eyes narrowed as she looked at Joan, making her chuckle nervously. Relax soul, just because you can't stand her bro doesn't mean you can't be friends with Joan, Frida said as she walked past Salana into the house along with Harriet. Fine, Salana said with a sigh as she let Joan enter her home. Geez, she's not a fan of Naruto, is she? Joan whispered to Harriet as they walked into the living room while Salana closed the door and locked it. Well, it's more his connection to his clone father she hates, Frida said as she sighed and shook her head. She has a beef with Naruto's clone father? Joan asked curiously as she didn't think anyone hated Naruto's clone father. They haven't told you? I figured they would have at least warned you after I kicked that morons, but, Salana said as she entered the living room with some pizza boxes which she put on a table next to some chips and soda. Yeah, we figured you should tell her seeing as it's more your hang-up soul, Frida said as she shook her head at her friend's attitude about Naruto. Tell me what? Joan asked curiously as she took a soda which Solon tossed to her. Fine, how familiar are you with that moron's clone father? Salana asked as she sat down and opened a can of soda. I know a few things. I know he had some kind of special power and is seen as a big historical figure back in Japan thanks to him stopping some world-ending threat, Joan said as she drank some of her soda. What do you know about his family? Salana asked as she hopped that she wouldn't have to do a whole history lesson. I think he had a wife or something. Naruto mentioned that she had some kind of eye power that was cool, said her eyes looked like the moon. Once, Joan said as she shrugged. Well, that makes this easier, Salana said as she reached up to one of her eyes and after a few moments removed the colored contact showing the Byakugan eye behind it. Joan looked at Salana for a few moments before her eyes widened in surprise. Oh. Wait, so you're a clone of Dash, she was asking before she was cut off. Yeah, that idiot Scudworth cloned me as some sorry but attempt to have someone to manipulate and control that idiot for him, Salana said as she put her contact back in. So yes, she pretty much is a rebel against being like her clone mother like you, Harriet said to Joan. Only she has sent people to the hospital for comparing her to her clone mother, Frida said as she shook her head. Hey, Capone and his goons got 2 warnings, whatever happens after that was on them, Salana said as she went to turn on the TV. So you can't stand Scudworth either, huh? Joan asked curiously as she got some pizza. Hell no. Only good memory I had living with that idiot was Mr. B. At least he actually gave a SHT about me. It was him who got me emancipated a few years back, Salana said as she lightly scowled before calming down a bit. So you don't want to be like your clone mother, hate Scudworth, and like Mr. B? Joan listed off, extending a finger with each point. Pretty much why? Salana asked curiously. Nothing, Joan said as she shook her head slightly. While she and Naruto have a lot in common, if she wasn't such a hardcore rebel he would have a shot, she thought to herself as the sleepover started. With Scudworth. The trio were in a van. Mr. B pulled out the cocktail shaker, shaking it up in his claws before laying out various cups. He slid the shaker along his arm, tossing it up high in the air, catching in his hands, shaking it up nice and before tossing the liquor into the air, the liquid pouring into various glasses as Mr. B tossed, shooting up various mini umbrellas for the drinks. Wow, Mr. B, you've been practicing. Have you been taking lessons from Naruto again? Scudworth teasingly accused. You love his lemon strawberry slushitas too. Mr. B said with a smile. Oh, most definitely, the blend of lemon and strawberry is just perfect, we've even made extra. Scudworth said as he took a sip. They're about to play, Never Have I Ever. It's time to give them the truth serum laced alcohol and the mind control serum. How are the drinks coming? Candid asked, walking into the van and seeing Mr. B and Scudworth working on the drinks. Both scientists were unaware of the small butler bot taking the mind control serum from the counter, hiding it behind his back. Perfect, we even made extras. Scudworth said, showing off the many drinks prepared. Cocktail. He said, shaking up another cocktail. Tom Cruise Kokomo. Mr. B cheered, tossing the bottle into the air before it broke on the table. Mr. B, which ones have the serum? Candid asked as she looked at the drinks. This one. Mr. B said, holding out his coconut. Or maybe this one. He said, pointing to a glass. No, it's this one. Scudworth held up his glass before shifting to pick up another one. Or maybe this one. You idiots. Candid shouted, slamming her fist on the table, clearly upset with the two idiots ruining her plan. With Naruto. Meanwhile, with Naruto and his group, they were just getting done with watching the first episode of the live-action One Piece show. So what you think, bros? Confucius said with a grin at everyone. Not too bad. From what I could see, they actually made this with respect for the series, Abe said with a grin, as while he wasn't as big a fan as Naruto or Gandhi, he liked it okay and could tell this adaptation was a good attempt. Okay, what reality am I in? Am I still frozen and this is all a dream? Naruto asked, surprised at what he had just seen. This got laughs from Confucius and Gandhi. So, this Luffy guy can stretch out any part of his body? JFK asked curiously. Aha. Naruto said nothing at this. Does that include his, duong? JFK burst out into laughter, slapping his knee. Aha, dong. He then looked around to see the others giving him flat expressions, causing him to rub the back of his neck, thinking he had messed up again. A few minutes passed before Naruto busted out laughing. Ahahaha. Oh man, nice one, and I thought I was only guy to think of that. Naruto laughed. Who knows, stretching powers can go a long way. Gandhi said, holding his hands for emphasis. That was great. What other cool stuff do they have on this thing? Is that Cowboy Bebop? Naruto asked as he grabbed the remote before he saw a recommendation on the app and smiled. 1 2 3 let's jam. Abe and Gandhi yelled happily at seeing there was a live-action version of this. Guys, wait a minute dash, Confucius said as he slightly frowned before Naruto pushed the play button and. After seeing the first episode of Cowboy Bebop. Die. Die. Die, you abomination. Naruto shouted, smashing his guitar into the TV. Whoa Naruto, calm down dude. I know it's not, oh who am I kidding, it totally horrible. Confucius cried, falling to his knees. What kind of monsters would defile an iconic anime like this? Gandhi shouted as he ripped his shirt dramatically. I'm guessing the animated version was better? JFK asked Abe curiously. Yeah, looks like One Piece is the exception and not the rule, Abe said with a wince. I need to get that SHT off my mind. What else is there to do? Naruto growled as he sat down next to Gandhi and Confucius. Well, have you guys looked into social media at all? Confucius asked as he took out his laptop. What's that? JFK asked curiously as he looked over Confucius's shoulder. Moments later, JFK was in a flame war with someone online with Confucius giving him tips and the others watching. You're a loser with a very small amount of friends, 0. Abe read out loud as a fist of data shot from the computer punching JFK in the face, sending his goggles flying from his face. No. The boys cried as the goggles hit Confucius in the face. And the amount of people you'll have at your funeral is also 0. Because you have no friends. Maybe your dad will show up just to take a dump on your face, and then he'll say, "Look, my dump is my son's only friend." Oh, wait. Even the dump hates you. Abe continued to read. Naruto could only face palm at what was happening. What kind of brain-dead SHT is this, he said as Abe tried wagging a slice of pizza to wake up JFK. You're gonna be alright? Confucius asked as JFK sulked in the corner. Oh, just leave me here to die. He said, you're a loser with 0 friends. I am a loser with 0 friends. I can't even be friends with a dump my dad took on my dead face. JFK sobbed as Abe and Gandhi pat his back. Oh, for the love of, get over it, you're gonna crumble to pieces just cause some cowardly but insulted you online. Who gives a flying SHT? This mother effer can't even spell right. Naruto said, pointing at the laptop as Confucius and the guys examined the text. Hey, Naruto's right. He spelled you wrong. Abe said, he used the possessive your. Aha. Step back boys while I deal with this troll. Naruto said, cracking his knuckles swiftly typing along the keyboard. Hey King, but since you failed basic spelling, let me point out that you missed the you spelled it the possessive version your. Now I see why you stalk in the shadows hiding behind your silly little insults, cause you're just a micro D little f-er who can't even spell and likes picking on other to feel better. So me and my boys say FUF ball and any other coward who gets his kicks from harassing people just trying to have fun. Naruto said as he typed before he sent the message. Meanwhile in another part of town, Topher Bus was jumping on his bed in victory when he heard his computer go off. When he went to read the message, he noticed his opponent's words before looking up at his previous message only to see what he had written. No. Topher screamed suddenly. A barrage of letters shot out from his computer, smashing into his something out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, with one final letting coming down on him, smashing him into the roof. Back with Naruto. You defended me, JFK said as he looked at Naruto while he wiped his eyes. Well yeah, I mean while you may have been a JRK sometimes back in the past, at least you said SHT to our faces, plus you're dating Joan, who I see as a sister, so I may as well treat you with some level of dignity, Naruto said with a shrug as he sat down and grabbed a new soda. Abe and Gandhi nodded at this, agreeing with Naruto, while Confucius smiled at this, glad that Naruto was willing to get along with JFK. Thanks Uzumaki, so what's next? JFK asked as he calmed himself down a bit. Truth or dare? Gandhi yelled happily as he held his arms in the air. What are we 8? Naruto asked as he raised an eyebrow at this. I'm down, what you scared Uzumaki? JFK asked with a grin at the blonde. Hit me with your best shot Kennedy, truth. Naruto said with a confident grin. Okay, do you actually care about Scud? Abe was asking before he was cut off. Dare. 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 Naruto yelled as he shook his head and covered his ears. This got laughs from the other guys as they all started to think over a good dare for Naruto. With Joan. Meanwhile with the girls, everyone was hanging out up in Salana's room, which was on the second floor of the house. I'm surprised you can afford a place like this on your own, Joan said as she looked at Salana's room while the other girls looked over some magazines. I think Mr. B put away quite a nest egg for me after I left, Salana said as she shrugged. I'm still curious how he does that, Harriet said as she looked up from her magazine. Something about residuals from something Scudworth sold of that blonde idiot's while he was on ice, Salana said with a scoff. Joan raised an eyebrow at this, but before she could question this they heard what sounded like some blues music being played outside. What the hell? Salana asked as she raised an eyebrow at this. Sounds like music, Harriet said as they all stood up. I know that, I mean, where is it coming from, Salana said as she looked at her friend. Joan approached the bedroom window and after looking outside she groaned and pinched her nose. What is it? Oh. Frida said as she too looked out of the window before she chuckled. Salana and Harriet looked out the window and saw what looked like Naruto down in the backyard playing his guitar, playing what sounded like a love ballad. Oh my god, that is so romantic. Harriet said as she smiled at this. Salana on the other hand approached her dresser and, with Naruto outside. Is you ain't my baby dash, Naruto was singing before. Crash. What looked like a dresser smashed into him, thrown at him from Salana's bedroom window. I said I'm not interested, you ramen-sucking idiot. Salana yelled down at Naruto, who was underneath the dresser. As this was happening, Abe, Gandhi, Confucius and JFK were watching this from a nearby bush. You are a wow, that chick is strong, eh? JFK asked, surprised at this. Like I said, BBCD bros, Gandhi said as he winced. Hey Naruto, are you okay? Abe asked Naruto as he came out from underneath the dresser. Yeah, I'm fine. Hey, is this a leopard skin thong? Naruto asked as he held up a thong that indeed had a leopard skin theme. This got some surprised looks from the guys and the girls who were watching from the bedroom window. That's quite a statement, Soul, Frida said with a chuckle at her friend. Drop M, you whiskered idiot. Salana yelled as she jumped out of the bedroom window down towards the boys. Cheese it. Naruto yelled as he took off running, the rest of the boys following his lead, running in different directions. Get back here. Salana roared as she reached into her dresser and pulled out a giant sledgehammer and started to chase Naruto. As this was happening, the other girls watched this bewildered as the mad Hyuga clone chased the Uzumaki clone. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author FANFICTION on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.